guys, welcome back to our channel. Today we are sharing with you everything you need to know about twin flames and the heart chakra. Watch this video. Alrighty guys, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here today. If you don't already know, I'm Serena.
And I'm Jens.
And we are two twin flames in union. We make these weekly videos to help you through your twin flame journey, your ascension journey, and your conscious relationships. So, with that being said, we are delving into a topic that has been coming up in my field quite a bit recently, personally, and in the work that I do with twin flames. So it's like multifaceted, as the healing journey always is. But that being said, we today are talking about the heart chakra. So I want to start this video, it's just coming to me now, but I want to start this video talking about the state of our heart chakras when we first met, because I think it's really interesting. Something that came to me really strongly, which kind of like, I don't know, pointed me maybe into the direction of you more than it would have if I wasn't already going in that direction, was like you had said to me a bunch of times through a bunch of different avenues that you're somebody that like goes with your heart. But it wasn't like you saying that to me directly. It was like, do you remember you had that reading with Tenzin who did your palm thing?
Yeah.
And she was saying like, oh, you're like really heart-led, like that kind of a thing. Like it was a bunch of those types of things that came up like in our, like the early stages of our relationship and like being in separation and things like that. Like you had made a bunch of comments about like your heart and like you being a very heart-led person, but not like from you, but from other people saying it about you, which is really interesting. And I think like on a some type of psychological level that like swayed me towards you more. But I'm wondering if you want to speak a little bit about where you feel like your heart was at the beginning of the journey, or your heart chakra was.
I feel that at the beginning of our journey, my heart was very open. Obviously, I'd been through a lot up until that point, and I kind of wiggled my way through a whole bunch of stuff. So I think for me at that point, I was very just open to new experiences and just not being closed off to things. So I feel that my heart in that sense was very, very open.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I was really holding back. I was living in the backpackers where no one really knew me. I met new people every single week, so it didn't really matter. People didn't like me because they were going to leave anyway. So I was able to just kind of, experiment and be myself and just kind of go with it, with still being respectful because of the fact that I work for that company as well. But yeah, that's kind of where I felt I was during that period.
I would agree with that. I think like in terms of, even if you just compared the two of us, I would say your heart was probably more open.
I would agree.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting about where my heart was at that time, so I had had a healing done when I first entered South Africa, and that was a healing on like the heart chakra. So I had like this empath, like what I call like my empath bleeding heart wound, which was partially from this life and partially from another past life. And it had specifically also to do with my mother. It was like a mother heart wound. And it was partly being like an empath and just like allowing all the emotions that passed through me to really deeply, deeply affect me and pull me down. And like wherever I was going, whatever I was sensing, I like couldn't escape the emotion of even like a place. Like I remember one time traveling to like Louisiana, and in the bayou, I felt like death everywhere. And I wasn't able to separate myself from it. So I just became like really depressed. And so I was very emotionally fragile, I would say. And the way that that affected my heart was like, not necessarily like closing it down, but it was always like almost like a door that's broken, and one part of the door is always left ajar a little bit, like, right? Like I didn't have the ability to consciously like open and close it to my will. I could only be the victim of my heart, if that makes sense. Like I didn't have that type of a relationship with my heart where I felt like confident around how I used it and how it affected me. And so I think when I met you, it was blown like wide open, like really, really wide open. And I was yearning for that because I was in the process of doing some deep inner work on myself. So I was yearning for that. But also at the same time, I remember after meeting you and in the process of making the decision to whether to leave and come back to you, or whether to stay with my karmic relationship, or whether to go off on my own. Like, I didn't know what I was going to do. And I remember sending an email to my spiritual mentor, John. And I was like, John, like, my heart just wants to sleep right now. Like, it is so tired. It is so exhausted. It is so, like, just sad and disheartened, and it just wants to sleep. And so that was a really terrifying place for me. Because I think I also really kind of led with my heart as a human being, just generally speaking, compared to most people. But in love, I think that was a whole different thing. Where in love, I really kind of led with my subconscious wounds. Um, so for me, I remember being in a place where I was like, I just want to let my heart close because it was so torn up. It had been, really brutally beaten in the relationship I was in before. And then when I had met you, it really blew right wide open, and I didn't know I could feel that much love for another person. And then I was like, this is just all way too much. And I feel like I needed to close it back down for a time in order to heal it.
Yeah.
Like, it's like one of those things, if you just keep reopening the wound, it doesn't have time to properly heal, right? um so I think that's kind of where we were in the beginning. um and then I feel like, as time went on, like, what's really interesting about our relationship is I feel like in the process of me healing myself and like closing down my heart, like, I almost kind of like wove you into it as I was healing it, because you were really there like every step of the way. So I feel like in some senses, um, do you feel like I opened your heart again in some ways?
I think in maybe some areas, yes. I think in some ways you might have made me more aware to how open I was at that point as
Mm.
well. Maybe more so.
Interesting. Just by comparison to where I was at, or comparison to like what you thought you were capable of?
Just in general, the journey that I was on. Obviously, at that point, I had done a lot to kind of re-heal myself and relearn myself and get back into my own comfortability. But I think that through my journey from when me and my ex broke up to when I met you, I'd done so much healing that I wasn't. I knew that I was okay and the heart was open, but to what degree I was open
Mm.
to, I had a concept, but it was more of a I think this is where I'm at without actually really knowing. And I
Mm.
think after we met, that kind of gave me a bit more of an indication of where I actually was. Still needing to do work because that never ends, but I had a much better idea of where I was along my journey with regards to my heart chakra.
That's interesting. um, so I think that gives you guys at home a good background of like where each one of us was. Now I
Mm.
want to go into like some twin flame theory almost. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know, this is weird kind of switching directions, but I'm feeling called to talk about like twin flame theory around the heart chakra. And many twin flames will have, different past lives, especially in this lifetime, where they couldn't be together, or lives where they were persecuted for being together is really common, or lives where they wanted to be together, but they were pitted almost against each other by outside circumstances, right? By either their social status or by their culture or by many, many, many different things, right? And so I want to talk about the heart chakra being this, it's kind of this portal, right? So you have your lower chakras, which connect us to the physical realm. Then you have higher chakras, which connect you to the non-seen or the ethereal realms. Your heart chakra is the portal to both these different realms, right? Like, it is the bridge of the material world and the non-material world. And so as a twin flame, you likely have these pre-existing wounds to your heart chakra with your twin flame from perhaps other lifetimes or other dimensions or whatever it is you want to say. Um, is it too much energy for you?
Maybe
You
it's all
process?
right.
Are you processing the energies?
Always.
So in terms of like twin flame theory goes, right? There's a reason why twin flames have such heart activations when they meet each other. And it's because all of these forces are coming to play, right?
Mm.
Like, it's no mistake that it took lifetime after lifetime after lifetime for you guys to finally meet again. And it's no mistake that, you had the experiences within your childhood of this lifetime that would have caused you then to close down your heart, or to believe that that type of love can't and doesn't exist in this lifetime, right? And I think sometimes what your twin flame comes here to show you is that that is actually all possible, that that depth of relationship is actually possible. And so much of that is tied to our heart chakras.
Interesting.
So in terms of like the twin flame journey, I wonder what your thought is about the heart chakra, and why this comes up for so many twin flames. Like, why are we struggling to keep our hearts open, or why is this coming up so strongly? Because this comes up a lot with twin flames who have experiences of like living together, or also experience of like sustaining a relationship for a bit of time but then separating and then coming back and separating. Like, this is really common for those type of twin flame relationships.
Um, it's a damn good question for one. uh, I feel a lot of that, the kind of reawakening of your heart chakra when you get into these twin flame relationships, because they are very deep and connected on levels that most of us don't really understand until we get there, and when we get there we still don't really understand it to the depth that we should necessarily. I mean, obviously we build on that as we go along, but there's such an awakening that happens in you, and such a it's a very hard thing to describe. There's almost like a feeling that comes over your whole body when you get into that situation with your twin flame, that allows you to kind of almost open up the back door in your heart chakra as well, because like you're always coming through the front, but there's actually like another whole section you can go through to potentially. I mean, this is just coming to me as I'm talking about it. So maybe I think that we end up being a little bit closed off in a lot of other things because of either past traumas in our youth, or things that we've learned along the way, or past lives, or whatever it might be for each individual person, that we almost haven't got access to the entirety of our heart chakra. We almost kind of divide it up, and it could be in half, it could be in quarters, it could be in thirds. Like, it really depends on person to person. This is just a theory. But I think sometimes when you meet your twin flame, you actually, without realizing, are able to open up those doors, and that's why sometimes these things hit us a lot harder, and why we start feeling a lot deeper, and why sometimes it hurts a lot more, and why also might cause people to go back into separation, because it can almost feel too much and too overwhelming to actually handle, because it's something you haven't experienced.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes people, when they hit that, they kind of like and they, the only thing they can do is like, I need a bit of space so I can figure this out. And other people might be like, this is pretty cool, let's experience this. So I don't know, it's just a theory that came to me right now in this very moment. Never thought of it this way before. But yeah, I mean, to me, just speaking about that makes pretty logical sense.
Well, it's interesting you say about kind of like the back part of the heart chakra, because that is true, you guys. I mean, our heart, like our chakras are not just on the front of our body, right? They're in the exact center point of our body. So it's in the front and the back of our body.
360.
Right. And so what's interesting about that is I was just having a conversation with Sean today, which is my massage therapist and like spiritual energy healer, I would say. And she was saying, oh, well, like where you need to focus, she's massaged both of us, which is super interesting. And what's also really interesting about that is she was telling me the 1 week that I had like kind of a wound or like a thing around my right scapula. And then she massaged James literally the next week. And she's like, Serena, you'll not believe when I tell you he has one around his left. So it was like this complete, like masculine, feminine, balancing, like mirroring thing on either half of our bodies, on the reverse, the opposite, right? Which is super interesting, which is also almost directly in line with the heart chakra and where the heart chakra would exist on the body. So that's really interesting. Yeah, that's really interesting in and of itself. And then what's interesting about that is she was saying, oh, I think we should, because I was saying I wanted to do like a focus on one section of the body. And she's like, yeah, I definitely think we should do your back. So I literally had that conversation today. And now you're saying also the back of the heart chakra. So it's really interesting, just timing wise. But I also think like what you said about it being overwhelming is super powerful. Because you're right. I think our twins do in some ways give us access, or they show us, maybe they're not giving us the access, but maybe they're showing us that we have access to these other avenues of our hearts and these other avenues of receiving and inviting things in. And that is super overwhelming because your ego cannot live in that much love, right? And this is the whole 5D, 3D thing, right? 5D is this place beyond ego, beyond roles, beyond like the superficial, beyond the matrix, right? All of these things. And so if you're really and truly embodying that much love, your ego kind of has to die, or it has to shift, right? Your identity has to shift, because those stories can't live in that much love. And so what I would say is, if you're twin flame watching this and you're struggling with your heart chakra, either it's closing or you can't figure out what's actually coming up, why you have such a heart activation, or why you feel like maybe you can't get it to reopen, I think it's really, really important to look at all of those aspects, not just one, but looking at, am I overwhelmed by the amount of love? Am I worried that I'm going to have to let go of a story about myself and what I'm capable of, or what I received, right? Again, as children, if we didn't receive that love from our caretakers, we don't believe it's possible. We don't believe that we're worthy of that kind of love. So we create a story saying that that's not possible. And by playing that belief, if we actually experience that in real life, we either have to go back to sleep and say, no, that's not what it was, and go into like a delusional state, or we have to shed that part of our ego that believed it wasn't possible, right? So if you're struggling with the heart chakra, I'd start asking yourself some of those questions, like, okay, the other thing with the heart chakra, when we close down our heart chakra, a lot of times it's because we're rejecting something about our twin, which means we're rejecting something about ourselves, right? So if we have struggling to close down our hearts, like, do you have an example offhand of like when you close down your heart in our relationship?
As far as my heart closing during our relationship, offhand, I can't really think of any examples. There's nothing that's really jumping out to me at the moment. I know there have been cases, and I think it's most time I think it's come from when I think there's been a bit of a disbelief from myself within myself with regards to how you perceived or responded to me, and kind of taken that sometimes almost too personally, as if it was an attack on me, and that caused me to kind of close down a bit, instead of being like, okay, well, I can hear you, I can take I can take what you're saying in. I don't have to, abide by that 100%, but I can take that and use it to actually tweak it to fit me a little bit better, so I can actually understand on a deeper level, to be able to get past that and actually improve myself in those areas that maybe you see that I'm not.
So criticism, maybe.
Yeah.
Like if you felt like I was criticizing you, then that would cause your heart to close down.
Yeah, it caused me to be like, I don't really want to talk about something anymore. I want to go, do something else.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, strong emotions. Like if I come at you with strong emotions, then you will perceive that as, oh shit, I'm being attacked.
Yeah.
And then close your heart down. And then it's very difficult for me to then get in there. So I've also had to learn, like, to not go overboard when it comes to the emotions, right? To actually be like, hey, this is what I want to talk about, not just like accuse you or blame you or something of things.
And also, when those things come up, making sure that I'm open to talking about them in those moments, because that's one thing I think at the start of our relationship we struggled with a little bit, because obviously you have a lot of things that come to you, and you're the kind of person that, when it comes to you,
we deal with it.
I deal with it right now. I'm like, later, it's all right, we'll deal with it then. I think since we've kind of changed that dynamic, it's allowed us to be a lot closer. It's allowed us to deal with these things a lot more. It's allowed me to be a lot more open to actually wanting to deal with it, because when it hasn't been that, there's been a big part of me is like, I can't right now, because it's too much for me in that scenario, and I don't know how to deal with that, so I'm just going to kind of back away.
I think mine would be, if I had to pinpoint one common one for me, which is really interesting, is like when you come to me for physical affection, which is so interesting now that I'm thinking about it, because I'm like, my parents never really gave us physical affection when we were kids. So one, I don't really perceive that as like a safe way of being loved, and I'm just not used to it. So it's kind of funny, the same way I come to you verbally, you feel like you're going to be attacked. When you come at me physically, like something in my body is like, yeah, literally. That's exactly what it does.
I feel you.
And then I'm like, oh God, like, freeze. Like, what do I do? Just wait for it to be over, and we've talked about this before.
Yeah, and I can feel in your body when you do it as well, because you literally do like give it a little shimmer, like.
Mm-hmm. And so like then my heart closes down because I'm like scared. But I also think that's tied to what we were talking about earlier. Because remember, there's times where I'm like, can you come at me at like a 50%, not 100% energy, right? Like James is like someone, and if you're like, if you know the chaser, like they put their entire being and essence into like what they're doing. Not that that's a bad thing or a good thing, it's just a thing. They just put everything into it, and then you're like overwhelmed by love, right? Um, and so I think a part of me also then wants to shut down because I'm like, what will happen to me if I receive all of this love, right? It's the same example of before that I was talking about. Is like, if I receive all this love, there's going to be a part of me that has to die that says, I'm not worthy of receiving this love, or it's not possible to receive this much love because I don't know what it is. I've never experienced that before, right? So I hope it's helpful to know that even like 2-3 years into our relationship, we're still moving through these things, you know? Like, so if there's anything I can say in your twin flame in separation or moving through the early stages of union, know that like these are things that you shouldn't run away from because they keep coming up, right? So if you keep running from
Yep.
them, you're actually not really going to get anywhere. Like in some ways you would, in some ways you wouldn't, right? It's all relative. But know that these things keep coming up. And it's something that the less energy you give them, the better it is, right? Like the less energy you give your shadow, the better it is. The less
Mm.
energy you give, like it's very easy for me to be like, oh my God, I closed my heart, I hyper focused on that, and then this, and then this, and this, and now we have a big relationship problem, right? To turn me not wanting one kiss into this huge, massive relationship issue, right? But
Yep.
that is a reality that doesn't actually help us progress on our journey because then we're just giving our shadow all this energy. And we don't want to be doing that. We want to either go down and get the root of the shadow and pull it out, or you want to take the long road of every time that program comes up, don't give it any energy. Don't give it any energy. And slowly you'll starve it, right? So I think if I had one final thing to say about the heart chakra thing, is like feel into it intuitively. Like it's not bad if your heart wants to close, right? If your heart wants to close, allow it to close. It's trying to tell you something. Maybe it doesn't feel safe. Maybe it doesn't feel seen. Maybe it's something else completely. Maybe it has nothing to do with your twin. It has everything to do with you, right? So begin to build a relationship with your heart and ask it, like, what do you need right now? How can I best support you? Why are you closing? What can I do to help you feel safe, to help you feel seen, right? And start creating that relationship with your heart. Because then down the line, when you have that strong foundation, you have that relationship, you can quietly whisper to your heart, stay open, stay open, stay open. And it will listen to you because it trusts you. It knows that you're a safe person. It knows that you have its best interest at heart, right?
Yeah.
Its best interest at heart. Um, your heart's best interest at heart. So that's what I would say. Begin to cultivate a relationship with your own heart as if it were like a friend or a baby or your inner child or something like that.
For yourself.
Obviously, of course.
Well, I mean, it's obviously sometimes the way.
And so that's what I would say. Is there any final advice you have?
Um, yeah, I'm pretty much saying just listen to your heart, follow it, and if something comes up and you're not sure as to why it's coming up, just ask yourself the questions. Just be like, okay, why am I feeling this way? Where is this coming from? What initiated this? What's causing me to want to, shut down in these moments? And by just slowly opening up those small little questions, you can actually a lot of times come to the root of where it all is. And whether that takes you 30 seconds like some of us around here, or if it takes you like 4 weeks like some of other people around here, that's perfectly fine as long as you are aware of where you're at and aware that you're on your journey and doing your work. The tempo at which you do it really doesn't matter. And if someone else doesn't like your tempo, whether it be your twin flame or not, or some random person or family member or whoever it might be, it doesn't actually ultimately matter, because end of the day, it's you that feels that it's you that understands that it's you that can actually come to a resolution at the end of the day, to actually come to a place where like, okay, I actually feel like I know where I'm at the moment. I feel like this is, I'm making progress to actually getting to the next kind of place.
Hmm. And if your twin flame doesn't like the tempo of the rate in which you're doing something, it's probably because there's actually healing in it for them too.
Yeah.
And they don't want to deal with that. So if somebody's pushing you to go faster, like your twin flame is pushing you to go faster, then you have the choice to either meet them in the middle, right? And you have to make the choice consciously to meet them in the middle, or to say, hey, look, I'm sorry. I love you. I know you want me to go faster, but this is my pace and this is how I have to do things. And if you're truly in a secure relationship, like there's a lot of times I don't like it. I don't like James's processing rate.
She never tells me.
Yeah, I don't like it, but I find that there's other healing, there's other fruit in there for me, right? So in the time that, and because I feel secure and I know James is going to be the person I'm with for the rest of my life, I don't feel this nagging anxiety of we have to figure it all out now. I'm like, if it takes if it takes a couple more days, I'm like, that's okay, it's fine, you know. And that's part of, I think, being in your own empowered center, is like you can allow people to take their time because you know you're going to be okay regardless. Like I don't have that fear of like, oh my God, I'm not going to be okay if we don't have an answer to this today. It's like, no. Okay, if you need a couple more days of another week or two to figure this thing out, that's cool. I know it's going to come back around because I've seen time and time again on this journey how we go through those cycles together. And I've now built a foundation of trust around the fact that I know if I keep doing my work, he's going to do his work. And he does his work, it's going to cause me to do my work.
Oh, hell yeah.
And that's just the way that it functions, unfortunately on the twin flame journey. But I hope this video found you well. I hope it was helpful for you. If you have any additional questions or comments, please put them down below. I just landed on my finger. And yes, if you're looking for more support, be sure to join our twin flame community. You can activate a 7-day free trial. Be sure to do this though around the time that there is a webinar. So I don't know if you can go on the about page and it tells you when the next webinar is. But we do them every other week. So if you sign up to it too early, then you won't get to experience a free live webinar. But you'll get all the other benefits of the community. So up to you. But I'm just trying to get you your bang for your 7-day buck.
It'll be next week.
Anyways, not this upcoming week.
Sorry.
And we don't know when this video is going to be released. So ignore this man here, please. And we will see you in the next video. Lots of love.
Bye.
Bye.